I'm so excited.
Yeah, me too.
So, my name is ShereenFuqua, and I own GumBits. And I started a GumBits Zoom chat back in January after a really kind person wanted to interview me and talk about GumBits. And I thought, wow, what a great way to get my story out on GumBits, and it's so hard to describe the product and everybody that uses it. And so anybody who doesn't know what GumBits is, I'm trying to figure out where the camera is. I guess it's right there. It is chewing gum for horses that started out with a lot of dressage Olympians around the world that use it. And then the eventers started using it. And because I'm in the hunters with my daughter, I took it to the hunters. And I've had people call me from around the world using it, from vaulters to Arabs use it. Every discipline uses it. So I'm so confused in how to get all these great stories out. So I started my weekly story, and today is going to be a very interesting day for me. Number one, I started doing the Zoom calls at a time that I was traveling back and forth to Wellington with my daughter who competes. And I thought, oh my gosh, why am I trying to cram in interviews on Monday and Tuesday when I'm getting ready to go out of town and I'm in Horse World Capital in Wellington? And so since January, literally, well, today is July 5th. I have been doing all of my stories live, and now I'm back to learning which buttons to hit for the Zoom and my first call. The reason why I wanted to speak to you, and for everyone, this is Claire Townsend. Did I say that right?
Yep, you did.
And Claire is with Phelps Media. She's executive with Phelps Media. And we're doing some business together, and it was really interesting because when I first met you a couple months ago, you mentioned to me that you grew up in Maui and you ride horses. And I thought, oh, okay, well, that's cool. Fast forward, my daughter and I just came back from Maui because my brother has a home there with his 5 girls, a vacation spot. And hold that thought. And so while we were there, I'm always looking to meet people that do horses. So Kat and I found a horse farm. And we thought, oh, we're going to follow the road, go up the road and see what we come into. And it was interesting because we met the owner. He did not want to be videotaped. I'm going to include him in the story. But he did allow me to talk to him. And it's beautiful. I mean, you grew up there, up on top of the mountain, overlooking the ocean.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. But what he said to me was a little alarming. He said that there were 7 farms left. And I think he might just be talking about tourist farms where people can come and ride.
Yeah.
And he said there were 7, and now that I think he said maybe down to 3, maybe he said 5, and that he himself personally has been offered $10 million for his horse farm. And I'm looking at him like, okay, well, maybe we should take the $10 million. I don't know. What would you do if you had $10 million? And he said he would go to Fiji. So the horses were on the side of the mountain. It's very cool. I'm going to play it back. And they were just coming down from a trail, and I knew you, and one of my rules is that I'm bending is that everybody I talk to has to have tried GumBits, and you have not yet tried the GumBits, and you'll tell me why you think it's interesting. But I want to talk about Hawaii You don't think about having horses on an island
Yeah.
at a competitive level. And so I want to know about you, how you grew up in Hawaii.
Yeah.
I actually, in college, had a boyfriend from Hawaii and spent a little bit of time on, is it Oahu, where Waikiki is?
Yeah.
And so it's a beautiful place, but you don't really consider the island as a place to be a competitive rider and to ride horses, which is unique because there was a cook at my brother's house who said that his friend who has children has horses and goes and rides with their horses. So that was a long opening, but please tell me all about your experience with growing up in Hawaii, what you're doing now, and what's happening in
for
Hawaii
sure.
with horses.
Oh man. Growing up in Hawaii was very different in terms of I went to college. I went to SCAD for college. And that was, I've been to the mainland and all that kind of stuff. But nothing in a permanent sense. My mom's from New Jersey and she rode with George as a kid.
You have to say which George, because we had this conversation before.
George Morris. Yeah. My mom
okay, because there is George Williams. And
yeah.
So just want to clarify.
Yeah, my mom rode with George Morris as a junior, had horse of the year, and she was really competitive back in the 80s or 70s, 80s. And my mom was a wild child. She moved pretty much like she lived everywhere. She lived out of a van for a while, and then she went to Hawaii on a vacation.
In California?
She was in Santa Monica.
Yeah, I can see her now. I haven't met her yet, but I know that I will. I can see her living in the van. Yeah. Like there's the old 60 movies, right? All the surfers. Did she surf as well?
She actually filled scuba tanks. She didn't surf, but she lived in Santa Cruz for a while, and she is so cool, and I am so boring compared to her. But yeah, she went there on vacation.
She might be happy about that.
Oh, I know. She told me, she was like, I'm so glad you're not me. When I was younger, I was like, I don't know, you're pretty cool. Like you did. So she lived in Italy illegally for 3 years. Like she did
for 3 years.
For 3 years.
Did they catch her, or did
her dad had to go and physically like drag her back to the US. So she's amazing. I'm a huge fan of my mom, obviously. But yeah, she went to Hawaii on vacation, never came back. She met my dad.
How old was she when she went to Hawaii?
She was, I want to say she was 32. She met my dad when she was 35 and had me at 38.
Okay.
So she lived life. But yeah, she wasn't in horses for a minute. She got burnt out, and then she met my dad and they found a horse. They were living in Maui at the time, which is where I grew up. And
is this all on Maui? Or was
all on Maui.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So Maui is like it's the Paniolo town, which is like all the cowboys. Like you go into Maui and it's just like there's Oski Rice Arena and there's I
heard about that. We were gonna go. We were told to go.
Yeah. And Maui holds, I think I want to say they hold one of the biggest rodeos in the state of Hawaii. So that's kind of like where I grew up. But yeah, my mom found a horse that just was dumped by someone and was just out living in a field, and my parents just decided to take over, and then that's when my mom started doing the horse stuff again. And yeah.
Now, what made her go to Hawaii? Was it her interest in scuba diving or being around the ocean, or?
Yeah, she went there because that was the last state she hadn't been to, and she went.
She did all 50 states.
She went everywhere. Like my mom did everything. And when you go to Hawaii, like hadn't really realized it until I took my then boyfriend, now fiance, back. And it's an incredible experience. It's beautiful. It's like, it literally is paradise on earth. And yeah, I grew up riding horses pretty much in my backyard. Like, it wasn't.
She was a competitive junior,
Mhm.
trained
Yeah.
with probably one of the best in the world.
Mhm. Yeah.
And did she do jumpers then, or hunters?
She's a diehard hunter.
A
She
hunter.
is,
Okay.
she is like, her dream is to just get herself a nice hunter to just kind of plop around the 3-foot 3-3. That's her goal. And we'll get there. But yeah, she leaves the jumpers to everyone else. She does the hunter. She's a large art judge.
Did she walk away? Am I looking at the camera? Or am I looking at you? I'm not really.
I think I'm just
like
looking at the screen. I like looking at the screen.
You look good. Okay. I'm gonna
Yeah.
look at the screen then, because it's kind of freaking me out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So your mom was a competitive rider,
Mhm.
trained with the best,
Mhm.
wild child.
Yeah.
Did she walk away from the horses and travel around the US? Ended up in California, which, oh my gosh, I would love to live in California myself.
Me too.
Personally,
Yeah.
I love the avocados there.
Yeah.
And then decided, oh, well, I must go to Hawaii.
Mhm.
Went there, fell in love with your father.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. She was working at a movie store and he walked in.
Wait, she was working where?
She was working at a movie store.
A movie store. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. When she started traveling around the US, was she doing horses, or she was just living the world?
So she, as a junior, I think the moment, she's told me this so many times, but when she was traveling around the US, it was just for her own experience.
Okay.
Before she went up to Lake Placid. She went to Madison Square Garden,
Wow.
rode there.
Oh, maybe we should give your mother a name.
Oh, Nancy, her maiden name is Nancy Easton.
Nancy Easton. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
so when she went to Hawaii at that time in her life, she wasn't really riding no horses. No. So she goes to Hawaii, she meets her father.
Yeah.
And obviously decides, I need to get back to horses.
Yeah. Yeah. He really pushed her. And I think she also, and like, I know that you relate to it. And I know for sure, because I'm an only child and Kat's an only child, we're like, the horses, and my mom was an older mom, and she was like, I want to have my kid doing something. My parents are always about being constructive and doing something that's of use of your time. Like we have fun and stuff, but they wanted to have me, I don't know, not necessarily be obsessed, but have something to work towards.
And responsibility, taking care of a live animal.
Yeah.
So she found this horse that I assume she trained. Did she open a barn? I know she has a barn now here in Atlanta, so I'm kind of cheating.
Yeah.
But so did she open a barn there in Hawaii, in Maui, and start to give lessons?
Yeah, I want to say I was probably, she leased the property that we own currently now. It's called K.A. Road Stable. And she had it, I want to say, my entire life. Like she had it, she was teaching lessons, and we would have little like local type shows at the barn. People would trailer in, and it was more of like the fun experience, not anything like.
How big a barn? How many do they live outside in the pasture, or are they stable like we think up here?
Yeah, so we have it was an old cattle barn that my parents converted, redid the stalls, all that kind of stuff. It was nothing fancy, but it was like getting material into Hawaii is expensive. So we kind of used what we had. But yeah, the horses, we had 24 stalls.
24. Okay.
And then we had like pastures. We had an arena that my parents like shipped in, some footing. You know, we don't get seasons, so it's mostly like spring and summer.
And do you grow your own hay there that
we ship it in?
You ship it in.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
When you say you ship it in, how does that work? Does everything come from California and on a boat, a big ship?
Yeah. So everything like feed, hay, we obviously have feed stores and stuff. And it gets shipped in from California. The bales are double compressed and they weigh probably about 55 pounds each. Wow. And it's
do you have any idea now? You've been here in the States now because you came over to go to school at SCAD. So what has it been, 5 years, 6 years? Do you remember, do you have any idea now how much is a bale of hay? Because I'm curious how that compares to like Wellington, because everybody says that Wellington is so expensive.
I want to say at that time we would get alfalfa and mixed, and it was probably like $80 a bale, maybe. And then also like we would get shavings shipped in too, like what you would get at horse shows and stuff. So it was pretty, I don't know what it is now, but it's expensive just because
that's crazy.
Everything gets shipped in. Like a gallon of milk, for example, is like $10. So yeah, it's crazy.
Now, the people that she taught, were they locals or did people come to trail ride, or this was purely training competition by?
Purely training. My mom had actually quite a few students that have gone off and done, like Lehua Custer, who's in Wellington now. She does dressage. She was a good friend of ours. And then a lot of the girls went off, and one of them became a really top vet in Wellington and Kentucky. And there a lot of, and I think that's the thing with growing up in Hawaii, is it was such, everyone loved doing it. Everyone loved the horses, and it wasn't just for winning and all that kind of stuff. It was everyone, even now in their 30s, late 30s, they've stuck with it because it's a love that they were taught. You know, it wasn't just going into the ring and winning a prize, which is so much fun. Like, I love to win. I don't like losing. I don't think anyone likes losing, but having that opportunity to learn how to love something that can't talk to you is such a special bond. And I think that's something that my mom really taught me as a kid, especially being an only child. And I think my mom was always a second mom to all of her students, because when they would come to the barn, that was their safe space. So it was a really amazing opportunity. And I'm forever grateful for my mom for teaching me how to like love this sport as a whole and to love the horses, you know? So.
Well, yeah. I love that. I have recently been interviewing people that, you know, they make their love and their hobby and passion for the animals. They're able to find a business so they can still touch and be involved with what they love so much. But I'm still so intrigued with Hawaii and like how, like, where do the horses come from? Is there a lot of breeding on the island, or are you shipping the horses in? Like, we ship horses back and forth to Europe. And for a horse show, like, you know, how many people were in a division or a class or all of that?
Yeah. Well, growing up, like we had my mom's, again, a diehard thoroughbred person. Like, she loves her thoroughbreds, which I've grown to love. And we would ship in some horses, but that was on a very rare occasion. We also
And when
bred.
you say ship in, like again,
Mhm.
ship in from California or
We've had,
another island or
yeah, so we've had some horses come from California. We had one come from Canada. We've had some come from Europe, but they will fly to Oahu and then they'll get barged over to Maui. There's no
okay.
like direct flight or anything like that. So yeah, it was just kind of a mix. My parents had a stud growing up, and we bred a couple horses. It
That
was,
must have been fun.
oh my gosh, I learned so much as a kid. Like, just my parents are just crazy, and they had such passion for it. So I inevitably got that.
And what
But
about
yeah.
like the medical care? Were there a
Hmm.
lot of vets in the area or
Mhm. Yeah, actually one of the girls that was my mom's student is now a vet on the island.
okay,
So she went to Virginia, I think it was Virginia Tech.
that's a
But
good
yeah,
school.
we had actually the vet for the Olympic team. He would come in and do surgeries and stuff. So yeah, we had access to things. It was just limited.
Maybe people came because you were in such a beautiful place. So they're like, oh, okay, I'll come and do surgery.
Yeah,
If I
a
get a
lot of
day or
them.
two off and sit by the
Yeah,
ocean.
yeah, like
Um,
the vets and stuff, they're really into surfing and windsurfing, and that definitely, we've had some clinicians come in, and my mom will fly them in and we'll put on like a couple day clinic or whatever, and they're always like, oh, absolutely, like we'll fly in, that no problem. So it definitely was like, it was enticing for people to want to come because, I mean, why not? Pay to
yeah.
be there.
Well, we so many people criticize maybe I shouldn't use the word criticize,
Hmm.
but when we're down in Wellington showing for the season, there's
Hmm.
a sense of, the sport is for wealthy people.
Mm.
And when I think about Wellington and maybe Bella Hay at $24 a bell, and now
Hmm.
Hawaii,
Hmm.
how can anybody afford the sport in Hawaii? Is there a
Yeah.
real difference in people that have the ability to
Hmm.
show and have the sport? Like you see a lot of these cartoon character shows
Yeah.
with the snobby girls.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Is it like that or not so much?
Not so much. I mean, a lot of I can only say from my personal experience, but a lot of the girls that I grew up with who were probably 10 years older than I was, they mucked stalls. They helped my mom with feeding and stuff like that. Like, they're getting the help for that many horses was difficult. So like
I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
everyone would
Just
help
kind of came
themselves.
together as a family, a real
Yeah. It was
family
a hundred
environment.
percent. It was 100% a family. And like, that's kind of what my mom transitioned to being in the mainland now, is like the barn that we have. It's such a family. No one's like, we're competitive, but we're competitive against ourselves. We're not competing against other people. It's like, I want to do better than I did last time,
Right.
And it's feeling that sense of accomplishment. It's not like, at least how I think, it's not, oh, I did better than this person. It's like, I did better than I did last time,
Right.
And that's something that I think the sport needs to get back to, and to not just feeling that snobbiness towards other competitors. It's like, it's you and your horse, and you're going to try and be the best that you can be, and that's something that my mom really taught me. But yeah, like the horse shows back home, we would have maybe 4 or 5 people in a division, maybe. And
I
it
think
was
of
it was
it
fun.
a lot like the dressage,
Hmm.
because in dressage you're really competing for your score,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they're really in the junior FEI level, there really aren't a lot of kids that
Mhm.
do the dressage. So I think maybe it's
Yeah.
similar that way.
Yeah.
Well, I met this gentleman, and again, he told me that there's a real problem with
Mhm.
deer taking over the
Mhm.
island. Is that true? And what
Yeah.
does that mean exactly? Because it's kind of, I mean, I see a lot of deer here in Atlanta through the city,
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
there's, a lot of trees here that kind of
Mhm.
shock people. It sounds kind of weird, but it
Yeah.
kind of creates some forests, and the
Mhm.
deer, are in the middle of the city.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's kind of scary to me. I know at my farm I have a lot of deer, and
Mhm.
I always get scared of hunters that shouldn't be hunting, and my property
Yeah.
is a safe haven, and
Yeah.
no one's allowed to come onto my property for the deer.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
quite a
Yeah.
bit of herd. But when this man that we met talked about the
Yeah.
deer, it was taking over the island. What does that mean? Is that bad? And does that mean that they're going out and killing the deer? It just is
Mhm.
kind of a little upsetting.
Yeah. So because obviously it's an island, there are no natural predators for deer. There's no like in the ocean and stuff, obviously the sharks kind of keep everything in check so things don't get out of control. But in Hawaii, it is paradise. We don't have seasons. We don't have like really, they're very, when horses come in, they're quarantined for a month, to make sure that no bacteria
That's
or
a long time, a month.
it's a yeah, it is a long time. And so with the deer and stuff, it's just a natural breeding ground, like it's we don't have natural selection. So there are hunters that do go out, and there are certain properties that allow hunting and stuff like that. And we also have like a boar problem, like pigs and stuff. They get very large. But with the deer, to my knowledge, because I'm not a hunter at all, like I am not into that
Yeah,
kind of
no,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah, it's the deer are really small. They're like just very petite. And even as like you see deer here and they have the spots on their back because they're babies, but in Hawaii, all of them have spots. So you don't
Oh,
really know.
wow.
Yeah, you don't really know
Crazy.
what age they are. But yeah, I mean, I haven't been back in 2 years, and but I know I have a couple friends that's what they do. They go and hunt in the crater and
I
help
guess
with
it's
the
the circle
population.
of life. And
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
I just thought it was so interesting. And he talked about how, you know, people are coming in and buying up the real estate. Do you
Hmm.
get a sense that the horse farms will eventually go away there?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Wow.
I think it's especially my mom had I think it was also just like perfect timing, like in the early 2000s. And that the horse stuff was like doing really well. Like everyone, because it wasn't astronomically expensive, it was still very expensive, but it was in a point where people they could spend the extra money in order to get lessons, to maybe buy like a little school pony or something like that. But as everything got more and more and more and more expensive and the market crashed, it just became impossible for people to want to do it. So now the pineapple fields are no more. And they're not doing sugarcane anymore either. So there's especially
Yeah.
on Maui, there's thousands of acres of land.
Was it Dole? Did Dole come out of Hawaii, Dole pineapple, or did they just buy the farms to grow the pineapple there? And I
Yeah,
got
I don't know if Dole is there. It was like the Maui pineapple. It was like a very old school company that was
right.
there. Yeah. So now that the people are essentially getting pushed out of Hawaii, like the locals, I want to say there's only like 10% of Native Hawaiians that live there anymore.
Wow.
And
Well,
yeah,
Kat and I had a really incredible time, and I was
yeah,
trying to get around and
yeah,
meet people, and I met
yeah.
a lot of artisans this
Hmm.
spring.
They're so talented there.
There's so much to see there.
Yeah.
My little earrings
Yeah,
here.
I have my freshwater pearl, or not freshwater, but yeah, I have little pieces like that too. It's amazing. It really
Well,
is.
I actually did think to call you, but I
Mhm.
had heard that you were out of the office, so I
Yeah.
didn't bother you, but I should have called you because maybe I could have. You said you still have your farm there?
Hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
shoot. Well, like I said, my brother, I send or I go with Kat to see her
Yeah.
cousins once a year. So
Oh,
I'll have to go. Maybe you'll come too.
yeah. I mean, I'm I want to go back. It takes a
Well,
minute to get there, but it's worth it.
I think it's really exciting now that you graduated SCAD and
Hmm.
now you have a new chapter, and well, you have
Yeah.
two new chapters in your life,
Yeah.
because I understand that your mother now has a horse farm here
Hmm.
outside of Atlanta,
Yeah.
in an area where they run big shows, big
Hmm.
shows for eventing. I think maybe
Yeah.
there was one this past weekend.
Hmm.
There's dressage shows, event
Yeah.
shows, movies. They do
I
movies there
know.
all the time.
So
And is
many
that's Chattahoochee? What's the name
hills.
of the farm?
Yeah. Our
Is it Chattahoochee Hills Farm or just Chattahoochee?
So obviously where the eventing stuff is at Chat Hills, but
Chat
we're
Hills. Okay,
yeah,
Chattahoochee. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
And
So
that
we're
and you live in that area, right? So that is
it's very good.
west
Hmm.
basically of the airport. So,
Yep, yep. So we're like 30 minutes outside of Atlanta, which is it's so nice to be able to get out of the city and
and I
have a
know
second.
that that side of town, there's
Mhm.
also a lot of hunt clubs, right?
Yeah, there's
Okay.
a lot of trail riding, and we have a client who's wonderful. She goes on those hunts with her horse all the time. So I'm not brave enough, but I it looks like so much fun. I like
How
my
did
sandbox.
your, out of all the places, your mother now has been to every state,
Yeah.
um, has been, and one of my favorite places, California,
Hmm.
Hawaii, I can see could get a little claustrophobic.
Yeah.
Now, how did she choose Atlanta?
Yeah. So she was a barn manager actually at Chastain for 5 years, I want to say.
Oh, I
And
wonder if I know. I probably don't know her,
yeah,
but
she just
I
fell
feel
in
like
love
I
with
should.
Atlanta.
I need to come
There's
meet your mom.
yeah, we're not far, so it's like literally perfect. But yeah, she fell in love with Atlanta. There's so much opportunity, and we've made some really great friends here. And we found this property 3 or 4 years ago and fell in love.
Well, now having horses and
Mhm.
having a barn, and I mean, I know because I have a barn too.
Mhm.
It's hard. And it when
Yep.
I had people had their horses at my farm because they trained
Mhm.
my trainer, and now
Yeah.
I couldn't do it anymore. I just have
Yeah.
my personal horses. It is so mentally stressful for me
Mhm.
to take care of other people's horses because
Mhm.
anything can happen. And
Yeah.
as you know, we have a lot of tornadoes and storms come through here, which
Yeah.
can cause a lot of colics.
Mhm.
And do you just get used to that lifestyle because that's what you grew up knowing, taking care of the
Mhm.
animals?
I mean, yeah, I ran my mom. I helped my mom when we first got the property. She broke her leg in 4 places, so she
Oh my.
was she was not able to do
Was that
anything.
from did she have a riding accident?
No, unfortunately, our her corgi Peanut went out and got hit by a car, and she was
Oh.
in clogs and rolled her ankle, and it was just a perfect storm to just there's pieces that just gave out. But yeah, I looked after the farm for like 8 months, and I was in school, and you just get into a routine.
Now, was this when COVID was going on or before COVID?
Before.
Before COVID. Okay.
Yeah.
So the school was able to work with you that you could kind of call in and do what you need. And I know Atlanta also has, it's the same school. Is it? It's not a sister school. It's the same school. Can you take some of the courses here? Or okay.
Yeah, I did my Atlanta.
And they have a big equestrian team, right? Is that why you came to the school? And what was that like being on a team?
Yeah, I mean, it was down in Savannah. The barn was like literally a Barbie barn. It was beautiful. It was perfectly manicured. Like, it was just an incredible piece of property. And I think at that time there was 64 of us on the team. So it was a big team, you know, and just really high quality horses. And it was.
How do you have 64 people on a team? Is it all different disciplines, or how many people get to compete? How does that work?
Yeah. It was a big team. I don't know if it was 64, but I know there was a lot of us. But it was also based on grades, you know, like how much time that you put in, how serious you were to want to show. And a lot of I was one of the few, a lot of the girls were like fashion students. So they were busy with that. I was busy with film. But a lot of the girls on the team went on to do like the barn management stuff. You know, they came in, and I also think it was based very much on grades, and you had to, again, with everything in the horse stuff, you had to earn it. And so I was on the team for 2 years, and then my mom moved to Atlanta, and I'm really close with my mom. So I decided to move to Atlanta and finish my schooling here. Yeah. So
and now the next chapter, because I said there were at least 2. Maybe there's another one with the boyfriend.
Yeah.
But you work for Phelps Media now, and you've been there for just under a year. What is that like? And I consider Phelps Media to be I just got off the phone with someone and described Phelps Media as being the Saks Fifth Avenue courses, you know, as far as the quality of press that you put out and work that you do. It just seems, and we talked about this a little bit too, how media is changing. And what do you do for them, and where do you see equestrian media going? Because I think that all of us that have products and we want to reach out to people, we're all chasing for emails. But the problem with the emails is everybody just hits delete. And there's just so many options as far as TV. I think the one thing that's very exciting for the horse world is like Horse and Country that I had just interviewed last week, because now the horse shows are going out there and people can subscribe and watch the horse shows or the events that they want to watch. So how does Phelps Media, you know, transition maybe from what they were doing to what they're projecting to do?
Well, you know, that I and my mom too has such a respect for Phelps because of Mason, you know, and he touched everyone that he can. I never got the pleasure to meet him, but he was so enamored with the sport and the people and the relationships that you can have and the relationships with the horses and stuff like that. And I think with Phelps moving in the direction that we're moving, it's very social media based. It's very And also like with the emails and stuff like that, instead of just having a ton of text, and people a lot of times don't have time to read it. We're at horse shows, we're in the car, we're on the plane, like stuff like that. And it comes down to a lot of like design elements, and and that's something that I searched for a really long time as a kid. And I'm still searching for it, is like combining the arts and horses, because horses are moving art, and it's just getting that design and showing that in what people see, on social media, in their email, I know that Traverse City is doing like a lot of like press stuff, but commenting, like commentators, and turning it into more of like horses is a sport. It's not like the NBA where you have like all that like video games and stuff like that you play these players and stuff, but it is a sport, and it's competitive, and people work really hard at it. And I think we're getting to that point where we're able to show that in social media, and to show like IGTV, and going along with the really high competitive people that pour their life into this, So I
I'm
think
really excited about the film piece.
Yeah.
And because at the end of the day, everybody wants to watch a movie or watch TV, or I mean, who would have thought before? I mean, I never watched TV until COVID.
Yeah.
And but who would have thought that you're gonna walk around and watch stuff on your phone? It's
Right. Yeah.
insane.
Yeah.
And so now you have to be very competitive to draw in an audience. And so I think the career that you chose is going to be so exciting for you, that you chose it to be around the horses that you love. And obviously you get to be at home, and well, you probably travel as well. But I'm really excited to see the film piece.
I am
how
too.
The industry is going to grow.
I think it's an opportunity for a lot of us weird horse girls that are creative to be able to channel that, and to make it into something like inspiring and cool, and just to bring a new light to the horse world, because we're not just snobby wealthy kids. We're so much more than that, and I'm excited to experience it. And I think this is such a great opportunity.
I know that I called you out of the blue this morning because I have this beautiful scenery of Maui that I'm going to include in this. And but I really wish I had more time to come to your mother's farm. And we're going to do a follow-up before, let's say before the end of the year. I want to do a follow-up. I want to meet your mom. I want to see the horses. And you are going to be my guinea pig, because I'll put you on the spot, because you told me that you weren't familiar with GumBits at all. But you said you wanted to try it. Tell me why you think you want to try it and how you became aware of it.
So my heart horse, who unfortunately passed away a couple months ago, but I have this thoroughbred now that I have not been able to find a bit that he does this mouth thing where he opens his mouth ever so slightly, like he's chewing on his cheek. And I've tried like a figure eight. I've tried different bits. I've tried not having a bit. Like, I would love to see if this GumBits will help him be more comfortable with he's so sensitive that having a bit and having something else for him to concentrate on, and I think that's something I would love to try it, because I think he's so strange. He's such a weird horse, but I love him to bits. But yeah, it's just, he was the first one that popped in my head when you started talking about GumBits. I was like, maybe this is the ticket for him to like calm down and to like really kind of just trust it and feel more comfortable, mostly.
Well, I can't wait
Yeah.
because I think I should come to the farm. And when you try
Yeah.
the gumbits for the first time, you need a video
Oh,
because
yeah,
you
yeah.
are a film person.
Yeah.
And I do want to say to people that, you know, sometimes initially when they try the gumbits, the horses don't eat it right away. It kind of takes
Mhm.
a minute. You might have to feed
Yeah.
it with their favorite treat or
Yeah,
anything.
yeah, yeah.
But what is your horse's name?
His name's Easter.
Easter. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Easter needs to be our case study.
Yeah. I would love that.
See if it works or if it doesn't work, you know.
Yeah.
It's not, you know, it's not for all horses.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate your time
Oh
coming
my
on.
gosh. Absolutely. This has
And
been such a pleasure.
I mean, when people see, I'll probably have to show the scenery before
Yeah,
the
yeah,
two of
yeah.
us on, because I still can't figure out where I'm supposed to
Yeah.
live. But I can't even believe that here I was in Maui and here I know you and
Yeah.
you lived in Maui and grew up on a horse farm. The world is so
Yeah.
small.
I
But
know.
thank you so much for your time. And please call me or send a little
Absolutely.
note or a little film and let us
Yeah.
know how Easter is progressing with the gumbits.
Yeah.
And same with your mother. I want to come meet your mother and give her
Absolutely.
some gumbits to try as well. And
Yeah.
I'm super excited. And your father, is he still in Maui?
He is. They've been doing long distance the last 6 years. So
Wow.
he's
I don't know what you guys are going to do with this $10 million that this other guy said he's getting for his horse farm. But
I know.
but I really hope that you keep your horse farm because it is such a special bond for people to have. I know it's changed my life, and you know, it isn't always about the money. So
yeah, exactly. That's how I feel too.
It's really great to get to finally meet you live.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. And I'm so excited to have Easter try gumbits.
I know. I am too. I'm hoping that maybe next week you'll follow up and send me some video.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure.
Well, have a good rest of your day.
All right. I'll talk to
you
you soon.
soon. Okay.
Right,
Bye-bye.
bye.